was just a boy. Christmas brought so much joy. Couldn't wait for the presents and laughter. I couldn't sleep late at night, looking for Santa with lights. Those are the memories I still remember. Then I became a man, lost sight of who I am, but right in front of me was the answer. 'Cause on Christmas I feel joy, and I turn back to a boy. The answer is to stay young forever. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song, this is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song, this is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song, this is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song.
Hello, Star Wars fans. You know, there's just 122 days until Christmas 2023. It's great to have you all here. And just as a quick reminder, you guys, if you want to support your favorite content creators here on YouTube, the best place to do that is over on Patreon. And a little bit later in the show, we're going to be talking about an article from Bespin Bulletin, and Bespin has a Patreon, and so I thought I'd bring that up right away. You know who else has a Patreon? You know, Jason Ward. You know who else has a Patreon? Star Wars Meg. You know, you guys should support whomever you like to on YouTube, your favorite content creators. Go check out Patreon. They take less of your money and give it to your content creator, and that's the best thing about it. So you can support Bespin or Smiling Ahsoka, or
And you know, if you join my Patreon in the next 24 hours, I've got a little doco for the 15th anniversary of the Clone Wars movie.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. How you doing today, Meg?
I'm good. Been writing up some Ahsoka videos. I released one on Marok this morning.
I saw that. We'll talk about it in just a minute. Just out of curiosity, because your channel is the biggest amongst our whole community. How are the Ahsoka videos performing for you? You know, we get an idea of how the reviews are going. A lot of people are liking it. Rotten Tomato score is really high. Most of the Star Wars channels have been giving it relatively good coverage, but how's it performing?
I would say better than Mando Season 3, but not the height of Kenobi.
Excellent. Is that the big question a lot of folks have on their mind, and we'll talk about here in a moment, is how are the just surface level fans enjoying Ahsoka? Is it something that everybody's able to relate to? Is everybody enjoying, or is it just a bunch of Star Wars nerds who like it? Which is a good size audience. Let's not get that wrong. But you know,
but what's that line is the weird thing. Like the guy I play music with, he hears everything because of me over the years. So he saw the Clone Wars movie with me when it came out, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like he's been around, but he doesn't he just enjoys it and then goes about his life. When he's watching that episode and like Sabine's a Jedi, that stuff means absolutely zero to anybody, and the narrative doesn't prop it up. The narrative doesn't make it like this is special, and here's why. There's no character off screen going, "Oh wow, I didn't know that." There's nothing for them. So like he's telling me, I was talking to him, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's a big deal," and he's like, "I had no idea. I thought it was boring in that part." That's what's happening. To some people, I can't say, you know, everybody, but that's a thing. And Ahsoka's laughing about it because she knows, like, you know, but yeah, it is important though that you play to your base. Like you always play to your base, and that's what the show does. So there's good there. It's not like it's all bad. And it would encourage people to watch the other stuff, but I also don't agree with that method because I don't think that stuff is for everyone. And
Yeah,
with
well,
adult hard, it's a hard sell.
I mentioned this on my streams this week. My wife is as surface level as you're ever going to get. She teeters on not liking Star Wars at all. Right? So
Yeah.
she teeters on that. She's watched the original movies, but she hasn't even on the original movies. The Empire Strikes Back, she hasn't watched in its totality straight through. Right? She like loses interest and walks away, and like it just doesn't grab her. And then the prequels, she watched Phantom Menace, most of it, and then she's like, nah, this is terrible, and she won't watch it. She won't watch like the prequels. But then the sequels, she absolutely loves the Force Awakens. And then the other movies are take it or leave it. Like, they're okay.
Yeah.
But she got really engaged with The Mandalorian. She loved it. Other than that, she's been wishy-washy on it. And we watched it the other night. She hasn't certainly not watched any of the animated stuff. She doesn't know any of the things. Yeah, I know Matt Risman knows what's coming, right? She's not watched any of that stuff. And we watched it. I made sure not to comment during it. I didn't say, oh, this is so and so, and they're important because of such and such, and oh, this thing's really cool because of so and so. Like, I didn't say any of that. I just let it play and get her reaction. At the end, she said, it was okay. I think I definitely like Mandalorian better. Like Mandalorian's a lot better. She said, and I might have even liked Boba Fett better than this. So I know that's throwing shade for some of you all, but for my wife, she's
entitled to her opinion.
Exactly. But she said, it's got room. I don't know. It could get better. It seems like they're setting up something. So, and it is. I agree. The one thing I really, really love about this show is it seems to have a story to tell. And it will be less of the adventure of the week, monster of the week, format. We're driving towards something. And just so folks know, if you're here and you don't want any spoilers, I told Jason and Meg just before we came on, let's try to stay spoiler-free as possible during the first half of today's show. And then we'll tell you guys when we're fixing to change gears. And if you don't want any spoilers, that'd be the time to vamoose, right? To get on out. So
Arya's saying she likes it.
Yeah,
Meg, do you have any like surface level or friends that are like normies or?
I do. And this is probably the first time for any of these shows that I've actually asked more than 2 people outside the internet about it. And it seems to be a thing of, I know people who didn't understand anything that happened in the show, like very casual fans, but then some who absolutely loved it, even if they've seen some of Rebels or none of it. But I think the general fan consensus is going to be good by the time the show's over. I'm already finding it deeper than Mando in terms of lore, in terms of what it's exploring. We can make theory videos and we can discuss it as fans, because for some of the other shows like Boba Fett, there was nothing to discuss beyond,
Respect.
who are the Hutt twins.
Oh yeah.
Right. I agree with you. And the way that it touched on different aspects of Star Wars from the original trilogy or prequels, or there's a little bit of that seasoning put throughout the show where you're able to tie into those references. I think one of the big ones, just as an example, is the Darth Maul from Phantom Menace. Like, there's no doubt when you watch that, it's like, oh, that's like the Darth Maul scene in Phantom Menace. It's just like.
Did you guys notice also when Balin and Shin board the New Republic ship, and is it Shin or is it Balin that says, "You're right about one thing," and then I thought, that's what Obi-Wan says to Qui-Gon.
Yeah,
You're
it
right
was
about one thing,
Balin.
Master. The negotiations were short.
Yes.
Do you guys ever notice that like Darth Maul gets cut in half and lives, but then two people get stabbed and they're like, Qui-Gon died from a stab. What the heck? You ever notice that one?
Well,
I had a good look at it, and it seems that Sabine does not get stabbed in a vital organ.
no, I
Darth
said,
Maul got cut in half. It doesn't matter. At this point, it doesn't matter.
right, we can stop the discussion there.
Yeah, he got bisected and he's fine. He's living out he lives into his 60s or something. I don't know.
Jason, that's hilarious. Let me show this. Let's see if I've got the right. Oh no, I don't have the right one. Just a second. Let me bring this up because Meg's right. Like he was careful about what. There we go. What to where that saber got her,
Mm-hmm.
and you could see like it's way over on the side, just underneath her rib cage there.
Santa confirmed the
It's,
boobie's okay. The boobies
Pretty
are
low
fine.
hanging ribcage,
Okay.
Santa.
I'm just saying. We see her lift her gown later, and you see the hole.
Little
So
hickey, little hickey.
I really
there.
want to ask something, but knowing me, it's more inappropriate than I'm thinking it is.
bravo.
So I'm probably not going to ask it.
Thank you. Nor like when I first met you, I would have said, "No, Meg, it'll be fine." No, I'm like, okay, don't.
Nah.
Oh,
But the answer is yes, Meg. She did look pretty into it in that picture.
This is good. So anyway, the other thing I saw about it is apparently they're only lethal to male characters because it got Han
Once
Solo.
again, stupid because Darth Maul cut in half. That's like, in case people don't know, that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, about 15 stabs across the whole thing. And he's fine. He's good.
He's good. He's good. He walks around on those spider legs for a little while.
And they never even bothered to tell us how he lived. They just said, trust us on this one. So, you
Well,
go with that.
That's George's fault because George said,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'd like to use that
No.
Darth Maul guy again," and they were like, "But he's dead." He's like, "Eh."
It's a good example of when something is fun, you'll
Yeah.
let something slide for the fun.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing is if people aren't having fun, then they do tend to get hung up on stabby wounds and stuff.
Yes. Kenobi does eventually take him out via lightsaber. Just a couple tries.
Yeah, how come when he stabbed him the one time in Rebels, he died then? That's inconsistent continuity.
didn't Fennec Shand also suffer something really bad?
Yeah, but she got a
Yes.
she got
a
robo
blaster right in the belly. Yeah.
She got robo tummy from it. Like Sabine got a hickey. So
Could
whatever.
you imagine the fan outrage if they took Sabine's Tatooine to the mods?
Mm-hmm. She'd hang out with those guys. Those guys are probably her friends. They go to the mall. They go to Hot Topic. They talk about how much they hate their Jedi masters.
Yeah. Scotty Hawk. Good to see you, Scotty.
I agree with Scotty. I remember when Maul dies the second time in the Twin Sons episode.
Yes.
My brain was like, nah, he's fine.
Yeah, you would patch that right up, especially since he's on Tatooine and the mod gangs down the street.
The mods
you know?
pick them up. They're like, all right, you work
You
for
guys
us
just
now.
know with all the Night Sister stuff, there is a good chance they bring back Maul again in Ahsoka.
They absolutely could. They could.
I have to tie a little red ribbon to them, I guess.
You guys are great. The chat is great. You guys, that's another thing that's barely been helping the channel. I know Sam the Sham says another Santa video. Santa's on the grind. My work situation's kind of worked out. I've got things going well to open up this time, and I spent time through the summer setting that up, making sure I got more of the stuff here at house done. I got work set up so that this time would be free. I started blocking that out on my calendar because that's what happens at work. like meetings start cropping in, and so I just started blocking out a couple hours around here, so that as time passed, those meetings fell off and people started scheduling. Santa's busy. Santa's. So there's that, and then of course, as Ahsoka started, we're able to get back into the regular schedule, and sort of the opposite's going on with my friend Jason over here. Jason filled the void for me while I was out. You were streaming all the time, and now it's like, where's Jason?
I was like, Santa's back. Nobody liked me when I left.
Jason. No, you've been busy. You've been working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Santa, I've got a question about Ahsoka.
Yes.
I'm just being silly. I don't mean this seriously.
Okay.
Just as a preface, in case someone calls me a hater, but what do you think the runtime of episode 1 would be if you take out the scenes of Ahsoka not saying anything, crossing her arms, and then going, I don't know, maybe.
Right.
Enough said.
So that's a really good question, Meg, because I brought it up during the our rewatch and breakdown. Is that there's one scene especially when Ahsoka meets Sabine and they stand there and then they just look at each other. Like I joked, is it the Force Awakens? Who talks first? You talk, or I? Like whoever talks first loses, and they're just staring at each other.
Speaking of the Force Awakens, did you catch the HK-87 that was like the
Absolutely.
map, give it to us?
Absolutely. So I think you probably could have cut out a good maybe 4 or 5 minutes, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. So we kind of touched base on how the surface level fans are. And I like to think of it like the fandom more like a swimming pool. You know, there are people who just kind of wade in there. There are people who dive into the deep end. And then, of course, you've got some marathon swimmers in there. Right? There's
You got me who pees in it. Oh, sorry.
Jeez.
Sorry.
And there's those that just get injured.
What's that, Meg?
Then there are those that just get injured trying to get in.
Those who drown.
You get pushed down. Hey, I'm trying to swim here. No. So we've talked about that. Just ourselves.
Yeah.
And Jason, I saw your reaction where you and Rob were talking about it after the fact. Have you got to rewatch it since, and how are you feeling about it now?
It's kind of it's weird. It's like it's intriguing and boring at the same time, and I just chalk it up to like the pacing issues of the edit. Like the story is fine if you're really invested, because I watched it the first time just like as a Star Wars fan. I see the connections, like, you know what I mean, all that kind of stuff. Then when I watched it the second time, I was like, I just looked at it like, here is this, nothing else matters but what they are giving me here. I'm not going to let the fact I love this arc in Rebels make this seem good if it's not, because that's not fair really to any of it. So I was like, I'm watching, I'm like, yeah, some of this is just really kind of like just meandering a little bit, and it's mostly editorial issues. They didn't want it to be too fast. They wanted to make sure that you got the ideas, but also there's just stuff like, I like the opening text, but then it tells us the opening text right after we just read the opening, like those dumb redundancies. And that's hand-holding because they've had, Dave Filoni's probably had 15 years of fans being complete idiots. So he doesn't he thinks he has to hold our hand when it's like, don't talk down to the whole class because you got a couple of slow guys in the back. And that's kind of what it does at times.
Well,
and
funny you mentioned the slow guys in the back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what, Jason? Mm-hmm. At least when Ahsoka talks to the hologram of Hera, when she says, Anakin never completed my training, I was expecting her to go, I'm Ahsoka Tano. I was in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Do you remember Shark T? I'm one of them.
Remember that movie no one went to see that you didn't see? I was that girl. That was me, and I'm a woman now. I've grown up. You're like, oh, okay. Now I am all caught up.
No, so you guys are bringing up another point. We did not get a like an intro where we go back to, say, Mandalorian season 2, where we see her with Morgan Elsbeth. because in here we definitely have the continuation of that.
It's like the day after, as opposed to being totally parallel.
Yeah, it's like a day or so after, exactly, because Morgan is still being transported.
Yeah.
It hasn't been that long, and apparently Ahsoka did a little interrogation after "Where's your boss," and found out about this map thing. Like there's more to that than we saw, but they didn't even go back and show where she met Morgan. Like they didn't. I expected we might see that, and that we might even see like a Grogu from that as well, where she's talking to Din, and that whole bit. So I was a little surprised we didn't get that, but I think that was replaced by the opening crawl, right? So I think what it did is help remove the homework aspect. There was all this question leading up. How much homework do you need to do? Should you go watch the central episodes of Rebels? Do you need to watch all the Mandalorian and these other shows to get caught up? Where are you from having to keep up with all that? And I think they replaced it with the opening crawl, and the opening crawl did its job. Mumbo Jimbo, thank you for the $2 super chat, my friend. Fantastic. Says, happy to have you back. More Santa. Love you,
I
Meg
do
and
wonder
Jason.
why Morgan Elsbeth didn't use the Force against Ahsoka in Mando.
Use the Force. Well, did she use the Force? She
Yes.
used. How would you say she used the Force?
She used the magic, the Night Sister magic, with her
Yeah.
finger.
Yeah. Well, to light up the map, right?
She fingered the rock. And
She
then
did. Yeah.
I tried. I tried.
So when I was putting out the info about Morgan being a Night Sister and all of that stuff and magic and stuff, I had people involved with the Fallen Order games tell me, you're wrong, dude. You're wrong. And then I got people who work on the show telling me, you're right. Just stick to your guns and stuff like so. And so that to me says internally they were telling the Fallen Order people that what's her name is the last Night Sister. Don't worry about it. Keep with that story because it's like a different time. And then so I'm guessing that maybe Morgan steps away from it to some extent as they've died out. Maybe she has to keep it secret. Maybe it's buried, and maybe as this narrative plays out, maybe it comes out more to the forefront.
Well,
it might be a re-becoming story for her. I don't know though. That's just a guess.
Well, and how much magic is she able to call upon?
Well, we can't get into the spoilers right now, but when we do later on, a lot.
Okay.
Like
okay. We'll
more
Jason,
than yeah. Like
I have
all
a
of
question
it.
for you, Jason,
So,
because a lot of people have been asking this question. You know, who's on the other side with Thrawn? Who is this ancient civilization?
yeah.
But if I recall correctly, you literally told us this last year.
Yeah, let's
you
hold
talked
off
about-
for the
okay.
the spoiler part because we have some folks who have literally been like not even watching the trailers. They're like, I know, I don't want to see anything
What?
before I see the show.
What?
I know, but so we'll hold off on that just one.
They're not
minute
my
because-
customers. I don't care. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
no,
joking.
I appreciate it, and I connected some of what Jason reported more than a year ago as well, and it helped, connect the dots for me. And to that, I'm trying to edit myself before I say something.
Yeah.
We talked about some people. Oh, let me go back first of all to the opening crawl. Was it sufficient? Are you happy with it? Did it leave anything out that you felt like we're missing?
No, it did. It did a good job. I mean, it does everything that it proves that we didn't need some of those episodes in Mando that we got even. At the end of the day, for me, I mean, I'm mixed on those episodes still, but what happened right there on that crawl was everything that you needed to know. And then as the narrative goes on, they're like, oh, there's Imperial people like everywhere in the Republic. And then so when you start to see that, you're like, oh, when Thrawn shows up, you might have like Republic people pulling pistols on their captains and killing them and stuff like that because they're like, it's time. We're here to overthrow our oppressors, the Republic, like that kind of stuff. So it's all set up right there so much better than what they did with Mandalorian, which we could just chalk up to like more backstory, that fills it in. But this was better, I think.
Yeah, I think what we saw here, hopefully, is some of the learning curve. Right? Like figuring out the platform, figuring out the medium, right? Figuring out the format so that we can still get Star Wars and feel like Star Wars and look like Star Wars, but not have the budget of a big movie and set itself apart from the movies. Like the opening crawl, there was some feedback about, we didn't get the traditional floating away crawl. It's a straight up crawl with the red letters. The red letters isn't the big thing. It's just the straight up thing instead of the, going back.
Yeah.
To me, that's a distinctive. Like this isn't that, but it's still Star Wars. So I was fine with it being like a flat scroll versus a fade back. Would you have preferred to see it? That was me. Would either of you have preferred to see the fade back?
No, you're talking about the traditional opening crawl, like from Star Wars, like the A New Hope yellow. Yeah. No, I mean they've confirmed that they're putting that back in front of the films.
Right.
So if you're putting that back in front of the films and then you put it on the TV shows too, then now you've just made it where it absolutely is not special to do that in the theater anymore.
Yeah. What do you think, Meg?
So at that point,
I agree. I like the red letters. It needs to stand out as its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And like we saw in Solo, they tried a different thing too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like and it was still like not. It didn't. Yes, I like. Look, for the record, I like Solo. It's just there was still some like that didn't feel right.
It wasn't needed really. When you
it was,
it was
different.
Yeah,
So
when you get to that opening city, you're like, oh yeah, this place is really oppressive. You don't really need to give me the opening text about anything,
But it's one of those things where you start to put together the ingredients, and this is something else I wanted to mention and kind of get some feedback. If you use the right ingredients in the recipe, right, and you put together your dish using all the right ingredients, they still might not prefer or somebody may not like your cake as well as somebody else's, but it still is the same ingredients. And some of the ingredients that mean that a lot of people are connected with Star Wars have to do with things like that. The opening crawl, lightsabers, using the Force, the hero's journey. Right, there's a list of things, and somebody saying, "May the Force be with you," or somebody saying, I've got a bad feeling about this. All those kind of tropey things are still part of what makes the recipe of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And I think that Dave used more of the ingredients in the way that we enjoy them. And that's, to me, why Ahsoka seems to be resonating so well. And it's why I'm asking some of the questions I asked. So, Am I pushing the analogy too far, or are we close?
I agree. I think it takes all kinds to make the galaxy far, far away. Or in Dave's case, a second galaxy far, far away.
Yes.
But you're right about one thing, Santa. There's a lot of nice cake in this show. There was Sabine on her motorbike, nice cake shot. Hera on Corellia, Marok, great cake.
Exactly. Yes. I know. When I was trying to avoid using something you would use, and I was like, not going to happen. Meg's still going to get me.
I think that like when you get down to like traditional Star Wars, it's always what's it called? It's like there's like a title for this, like it's like end res or something. I can't remember what it is now, but it means like you're starting the story in the middle of it. And like the thing about like this narrative is like, for as much as like what George would do stuff that we always get forced to like listen to from people on Twitter or something, this narrative starts off like at the very beginning. And then so Star Wars has never figured out how to handle exposition. Even George, when he's doing the Phantom Menace, is doing the most exposition he ever had to do in his whole career in that movie, and I don't think really figured it out. It kind of works. It's kind of clunky, and it's like so. I think that's like a big takeaway would be all of this stuff that we learned in that first the first half of that episode could have just been unfolding. We could have been learning it as the narrative went on, and I think that's why we start off with these weird openings with like Solo, this, you know what I mean, and stuff like the Solo film and Ahsoka and stuff. That's why it feels weird in the Star Wars thing. Whereas if you just get down to it, compared to everything else, it's completely like normal. It's a completely normal way of telling a story on TV.
Yeah.
You know.
I feel compelled to get into some of the more spoilery stuff. So I want to try to wrap up the non-spoilers discussion. We're not going to stop discussing the episodes, but we're going to migrate here in a moment to the more spoilery stuff. And if you guys are here and you don't want that, then pay attention. We're gonna kind of wrap this up. I'll put up the spoiler warning, and then we'll switch over. And from that point on, it's out of my hands. Right? You're your own enemy at that point. So I think just to wrap up the non-spoilery part of it, what were your favorite parts of the episodes?
Probably the star map.
Star map. It's really good.
It's a hard question, man. It's a hard question. You know what I mean? Because it was. I mean, I think for me it was just like in general was the fights just being adequate. The fights just being where they should always be at baseline. You know, that just alone was good. But I liked the like Balin moments the most. I think so far too. I think he's been cool. It's been an interesting character. Balin and Shin have been my favorite parts probably.
For me, it's the fight sequences that are kind of shining out to me. I agree with both of you. I really enjoy the map thing, what's going on with that and where it's headed. We'll talk about it more here in just a moment. But and Balin and Shin are absolutely compelling characters. Very anxious to see how that goes, and got some theories and some thoughts about them as well. But then seeing Sabine and Ahsoka, those fight sequences were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And then they felt really well choreographed, really well done. And then the escape sequence where you had Hera flying the Phantom 2 with Chopper. Chopper's a scene stealer, like big time. He absolutely stole the show. Love Chopper. And I think a lot of folks who are normie kind of friends, right? The people who wade around in the shallow water are going to see an entirely different kind of droid, and hopefully they'll love him as much as us. This is Matt Risman, $5 super chat. Thank you, Matt Risman. Says, I love Yang so far in the series. Now obsessed with why he isn't with Luke versus Ahsoka. Matt texted me this morning. He sent me a DM on Discord and said, here's a thought. Why isn't Huyang with Luke in his Jedi teaching, right? Because Huyang is tied to the Jedi Temple training. He's the saber smith for the young Jedi learners.
Is Baby Yoda Grogu? Is he out with Luke for a year? Did we settle that?
No.
Okay, well, if he is, when they start building that temple, Luke doesn't even have a house right now. Like, if it's that week,
yeah.
If this moment is the day after Morgan got arrested and stuff like that, and you put that parallel in timeline, and then imagine Grogu's there for a year. He probably doesn't have a place to even put him at this moment in time in the narrative. He would rust outside. You know what I mean?
With nothing to do.
Yeah. So I would imagine if once they iron that out, it will make more sense about why he would go to Luke and become Jedi property, so to speak.
I've got an explanation that looks at it from a different angle.
Mm-hmm.
Luke is traveling the galaxy at the moment, generally speaking, to try and understand the history of the Jedi. As part of his research with what he's doing with his temple. And I think they have to explain why Luke becomes Last Jedi Luke. And that, to me, wouldn't have happened if he had someone like Yang to give him context to the bad things the Jedi did.
Well, Last Jedi Luke is because he got afraid of his nephew's Hitler streak, right?
Yeah.
And so before that,
No,
he could be completely. I mean, he's not he's not whining the whole time he's doing it. He's like, let's do this, guys. We got a temple here. We got little Jedi's running around. Oh, you know what? I'll call my nephew. He's cool. He'll come chill with us. And then they're like, I was like, oh man, that guy sucks, dude. That guy's gonna kill us.
I think people put too much weight on the Kylo thing. And I never understood that. I never understood why fans who otherwise seem to understand the story will say, oh, Luke just tried to kill his nephew out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like he was following his Jedi training, his instincts. That's literally what the Jedi did. And it wasn't that moment that led Luke to give up on the Jedi. It was just part of it. It was the final straw. He discovered texts, not just on Octo, but several planets that they explore in the comics. And he learned about Mace Windu and Dooku.
It was like, what's up, bro? You up? Like those kind of texts?
Exactly. On his Samsung.
On his Samsung. Ooh, shots fired. That's
from Samsung.
Hey, no, I don't want to derail too far, but Meg is absolutely spot on there. I think a lot of people, we talked about this a little bit before, like when you're enjoying it, you're having fun, and somebody gets cut in half, they're like, oh, that was cool. Somebody gets stabbed in the, in their right side, just and they survive, and that's not okay. It's because you're not having as much fun. And when it comes to Luke and understanding, just putting in the effort to understand what actually you saw, people just aren't willing to do it. They're just not willing, and they're still just like, no, I'm turned off by the whole thing, and I'm not gonna put any effort at all to understand it. And that's what it boils down to. Meaning, here we go. We're going to switch over because there's something I want to tie to that. We're going to switch over and we're going to talk about things that could be considered spoilers.
No, they are spoilers. Not even.
Well, some of them are. Some of them are speculation. We're going to be talking about.
I've got a spoiler about Shin.
Mm-hmm.
It's Dave Filoni's extended cut of episode 1, or should I say episode 2? Really, because Sabine goes to hospital, and Ahsoka comes in, and they deleted this scene where Ahsoka says, "What happened to you?" And then Sabine goes, "Shin split me in half, and then she stabbed me with a lightsaber." So I would say it was an even evening.
I knew it. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk a little bit about some speculation as well, right?
Pull up Pasitos.
Yes. So one of the things that we've been speculating about ties to this star map. And there's some people who are quite confused by this whole star map thing.
Well, Jim Carrey's house is right there. And right there's that guy from Friend's house. It's all star maps. The end.
Do you mean David Schwimmer?
David S. Schwimmer.
I don't know why that was the one Friends member I could imagine living next to
Jason?
Jim Carrey.
Oh, okay. Look, Ronnie. Oh my God. Is that the big face reveal?
Well, I haven't seen Ronnie in ages.
Yeah, I know. I haven't seen him in a live stream in forever, but he's been lurking in your Discord again, causing trouble. I haven't
seen Ronnie since we hit that person with the car and hid the body.
Ronnie shows up mainly just to troll Matt Risman. Ronnie has a mission in life, and it's to troll Matt Risman and just annoy him.
I remember Ronnie's video about Matt Rissman's beard.
Yes. Yeah. So and you see them you see them going at it on your Discord all the time too. And it's fun to watch the two of them annoy one another. But that's what they do. No, so I saw a lot of confusion about this map. Like because we don't have full context yet of what is going on. And some people feel like it's too confusing. How can we have an ancient temple with an ancient map made by an ancient people that points to something that happened recently? Like, how does this thing point to Thrawn when Thrawn wasn't around all that time ago?
They needed a mid-episode block of text. So here's how it goes. So the second opening crawl, like in the middle of the episode.
Well, there's this, Arya. Jason knows the answer, and I agree. Jason does know the answer because he told us over a year ago some of this stuff, and now some pieces are starting to come together.
Yeah,
and when I watched it, I was like, oh, that's not pointing to Thrawn. It's pointing to a place where Thrawn happens to be, but it's not pointing to him. It's not like a beacon to Thrawn himself.
And this is where a lot of fans.
But she's talking to Thrawn. She's hearing Thrawn's call, like, "Come get me, come get me."
I've seen all these theories that people saying it's the Rakatans, it's the Zephonians,
it's the Grisk.
But I had Jason's leaks in my brain. I was like, okay, there's just some Night Sisters out there communicating with Morgan. It's always the simplest answer.
Yes, and
for the record, though, I haven't seen any of the other Night Sisters.
Oh well,
so I'm like, so a part of me is like, but is it that? You know, I'm still like in that. I question everything. I don't ever go like, oh, that must be it. You know, well, like even down to like the world between world stuff. Went back into my notes. I was like, did they say that? They did say that, but then they also said the other dimension, stuff like that. So you just end up in this like place where you're like, is it the world between worlds? Is it more Night Sisters, or is it like a Night Sister temple and she puts her hands on the walls and hears what her sisters were saying and stuff? Like I don't know if it goes that weird. I don't know to what extent. Like, so that's where it's frustrating.
Think Thrawn himself is like dialing up Morgan on the interspace telecommunication network. I don't think Thrawn's doing it himself. I think he's in communication with, and this is from stuff you told us a long time ago, is he's working with these this other group of Night Sister-ish type people.
Well, he has like that weird guy in the weird suit I was talking about named Enoch, like, and stuff like this, like Destro kind of looking from like G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
And stuff. So he has like these like other people that I assume weren't on the Star Destroyer that zipped away. I assume. I could be wrong. That could be the case. Like we were trying to figure out the Inquisitor early on. We're like, well, maybe he was on the Star Destroyer, you know, and that's just what it was. But we know that's not the case now. And so I still like, I'm like, that's still a possibility. But yeah,
he's working with these people.
But that armor isn't like anything we've seen before, which makes me think that when he gets out there, he does find some new allies, is what I would say.
Yeah, but we specifically talked about how there's this other group of Night Sister people who broke off from the other Night Sister people, and that he's with the group that either splintered off or was the original people of, and you know, there was some discussion about that.
Yeah, there were people working on the show. Were like, some of them seem like they're like, maybe they're good, or some of the people out there seem like they're not necessarily evil. So he's all, I don't know, are those Light Sisters? And I was like, I don't even know if that's a thing. But if you're saying that, like, it might make sense that you would have these. That's why that exists compared to the ones who got wiped out on Dathomir. I can see that.
Yeah, and so some of the pieces are starting to come together, and it's like maybe her ancient relatives of a sort, right? And I say ancient because that's the context that she said. These are descendants of, right? So it's not like she's talking to people from, you know, tens of thousands of years ago. She's talking to people who are using their, for lack of a better term, right now. I think it's going to come clear to us. And I've got another thing that came up the other day that I wanted to throw out there to you guys as well.
Mhm.
These they're using this magic with a the K kind of thing, magic, to communicate to one another. That's why Morgan can hear it, is because she was part of the Night Sisters, and they use that magic. And this other group, they use that magic. So, however that works, that's why that's connecting. Her ancient relatives of whatever
Yeah.
sort is using the same sort of force ability that she uses. They call it magic. And Thrawn is there. Thrawn isn't like Morgan, like Luke
But
to
what
Leia.
if they I'm not joking when I say this. What if they used to date? What if they dated until they got zipped away? What if they were a thing? She's a woman, they're about the same age. He's a man. We assume they like each other, they might like each other. Maybe it's just like how the connection is there between them, and she has the magic and she could hear him.
So what Jason is saying is,
It's unlikely,
he was
but
a boy,
it could be.
she was a girl.
girl.
Can I make it any more obvious?
Can we? No, but I mean, no, in Star Wars, like two characters just like kind of give each other a sideways glance, and now they could call out to each other. It's not. You might not prefer it. I don't either, but it doesn't mean it's not possible.
I've read the books.
And Dave Filoni hasn't. So next.
Okay. Okay. Well, hey, you can think that way if you want to. But no. The answer is no. I think she's look. It's explained by this map points to the people who migrated to this galaxy from that galaxy. Why did they migrate from that galaxy to this galaxy?
Mother Charles and Stanky.
Well, there's the whole discussion about Light Sister versus Night Sister. And then somebody on the stream the other day brought up that there were witches versus Night Sisters. And the idea of witches who kicked out the Night Sisters. And that fits with what you said as well. So perhaps they were, again, for lack of a better term.
I think Shin debunks that, though. I think what Shin says debunks this idea that they're different, because Shin literally looks at her and says, "You're a witch." And then she goes, "A survivor." So I think they've kind of set the precedent for it being more or less interchangeable.
And also just to convey the idea that a Night Sister is a witch to somebody who's never heard of a Night Sister.
Right. And if they came out of a group that are witches, they are a witch, except they're dark, like you end up with light side. And again, that's not a term George ever really used from the beginning, but a dark side force user, a Sith versus a Jedi. You've got both of them are force users. Both of them are kind of connected through this religion. The witches versus the Night Sisters, they're connected through the same way they use the magic, the way that they interpret the force, the way they interact with the force. And so you begin to say, oh, they're this same type of force user, but they're on opposite spectrums. So I think that very well could be the case, is that they were in this distant galaxy. You had a group of dark magic users, Night Sisters, and they say, you guys got to get out, and ejected them to Dathomir, right? So that could be the case. And then they set up this Stonehenge monument, right? This ancient thing that points them back home. And as I think Matt Risman said the other day, perhaps there are other galaxies, like when you look at that Stonehenge kind of looking thing, there are pillars all the way around. So depending on how you align the map to the pillar, might point you to different galaxies, entire galaxies. So you can have like 8 different galaxies or something like that specific place points to, and you could have different tribes or different settlements of these magic type users who have migrated different places.
We have a sort of a clue maybe too in Balin calling the area like a myth, essentially in the narrative, which means that Balin heard this stuff too, just from existing. It's like Atlantis or something. People know of it. So if Thrawn should find himself there, then he would probably know, that's real, then that's real, this is real, then there might be one of those, then the Night Sister stuff is true, I should go find that. and then he might go to that temple, and then that's where he's able to phone home, like to Elsbeth by finding that place. They do set Thrawn up as somebody who, in the other narratives, who understands culture and history and art. Right. So with that stuff right there, he would.
Hey, I knew this chick from this other place.
Whereas
she's a
Ezra,
lot like you guys.
Yeah, whereas Ezra Bridger's probably just like walking around going, "This place is crazy" for 10 years. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't know that stuff.
Right.
He goes to school.
So I think it ties into the leaks that you gave us a very long time ago with him hanging out with these folks, and the reason that she says traveling across time and space is just the vast distance to this other galaxy. We're not talking about the unknown regions or anything within this galaxy that's far, far away. It's another galaxy, and it's far, far away from the galaxy they're in.
And that's how I would have, if Filoni showed me the script and said, "What do you think?" I would have said, ditch all of this complicated bullshit. Sorry, BS. Ditch all of that. Have Thrawn send a distress beacon through hyperspace, but they are in such a far away place, and it's so out there that it takes 10 years for it to get there. Then 10 years later, the beacon arrives, and then now everybody knows that's where they are, and then the race is on. I think you could have like really simplified that opening and still done that whole Eye of Sion thing, because if you need to get there faster, you need to build a super hyperdrive.
So here you go. So I'm glad you said that, because that leads us to the next little bit connected.
That's actually such a good idea.
Thanks.
Dave, Jason should write
stop being
season
salty.
2.
Stop being salty, Dave. Let's just join forces. I'll leak on the screen for you, baby.
Do you think if Thrawn and Morgan Elsbeth dated, and they can contact each other, just like late at night on Morgan's ship on her way to this place, her bed starts rocking, and Balin comes in going like, "Lady Morgan, are you okay?" She's like, yes. And he's just like, "Was it Thrawn again?" You could say that.
Meg.
Why? In actuality, like, I've been like curious about how things have to unfold in the narrative, because if Morgan is the one who's tying these red ribbons around stormtroopers and resurrecting them, I don't know, for instance, what are they, just mindless zombies like we saw in the Clone Wars? Do they have real cognitive ability? Are they just brought back from the dead? Can she just go tie it on Darth Maul, bring him back if she wants to? If Thrawn gets killed, if the Nogri or whatever they're called to come up and stab him, can she just bring him back? And so I kind of think that in a way, if that is the case, if there's anything to that, Morgan has to die before Thrawn can die. Otherwise, Thrawn would be immortal.
Well, I don't think Morgan's the one resurrecting those stormtroopers out there. I mean, they've been out there for 11 years or something like that, and Morgan hasn't been there. Morgan hasn't been.
But we don't know that Thrawn's had stormtroopers at living stormtroopers. That is this whole time. For all we know, they might go to a mass stormtrooper graveyard from the crash when they got there and start resurrecting the bodies from years ago. We just don't know. Yeah, it's magic and it's fake, so it's kind of hard. It's a hard one where I just go like, okay.
Look, the impression I have, and I haven't done. I'm not in your game. I'm not in your. But the folks that I have talked to, the impression is that they've been there for a long time. Yeah. That these stormtroopers have been there a long time. Again, this is from somebody that I talked to, and you know who I mean, but they don't. But and the impression was that this had been happening over a long period of time, and that you can tell a difference between some who have been resurrected once versus somebody who's been resurrected a dozen times. That it is a recurring thing, and that there's a visual cue that shows you.
So it's like the Plagueis novel, where when they get resurrected more, they kind of get more. Remember, they get like mad, they get crazy. Didn't it happen in Plagueis? Yes. Like the first time, they're kind of like, "Oh, I'm back," and then kills him again, brings him back, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm crazy now," and you're like,
Yeah, so I don't think that we're talking about a single resurrection of a graveyard of stormtroopers
Mhm.
from that they've been keeping these
Yeah,
same
we
stormtroopers alive
one of the things I put
over
out
all this
was
time.
like the armor is put back together. It's been like like a Kylo Ren in Episode 9 where the mask is put back together. It's like that's been happening out in this place, and
Yeah, over and over,
what's it
not
called?
once.
Kitsugi? Is that what it's called? Is it Kitsugi?
Kasugi art or whatever.
Kitsugi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thought is they've been there the whole time, and they keep getting resurrected because they keep like tripping and falling down, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you trip, you fall down, oh, you're dead again. Okay, get back up. But
Can we hit Ben's thing really quickly? He says any ETA on when we think we could see any of the stormtrooper stuff. So my impression from talking to sources was always the first 4 episodes Republic territory content. Second 4, that's when we get out into the quote new beyond, whatever they're going to call it in the series. So I would expect it then.
Yeah.
Episode probably 5 onward. That's when you would probably see Thrawn. That's when you'll probably see Ezra. It's probably when you probably see the stormtroopers and this new stuff. It's around that time.
maybe 6.
Maybe 6 even.
Maybe
six
6
even. Yeah.
From what? And let's. I want to finish this discussion, and I want to go to Bespin's article because it ties into what we're talking about right now.
Okay.
So I think that there's a reason we're connected to the Purgle as well, and we've definitely have this Aya Scion thing that's going to help Morgan cover that vast distance in a reasonable amount of time. And so it's got 10 hyperspace engines in it. It's okay. It's enormous, and it's going to get them there quicker. And meanwhile, we're going to have Ahsoka and Hera, Sabine, and them who don't have that technology to get them there quicker, and they're going to need to use the Purgle. And we see in the trailers Purgle and them flying amongst them, and that I think that's what they realize that this. And you see it even in the map that's pointed to this galaxy that's far away. These Purgle that are kind of encircling the directional marker. That that's going to be the clue where Ahsoka says, "Oh, hey, I saw these Purgle. The Purgle took Ezra. The Purgle are involved in this, and these space lanes that they came up with back in ancient times were connected to the migration or the movement of Purgle across space and time." So I think that's how we're going to see the Aya Scion go. And we see Thrawn on the bridge of that Aya Scion vessel, the same one where you saw Morgan talking to Balin and Shin. Later, we see Thrawn walking on that same deck. So we know he's going to get that, and that's based again on your leaks, Jason. Is in the end he comes back, and I think that's because he uses that Aya Scion to get back. But how did they get there? If Morgan takes the Aya Scion, they're going to use the Purgle that took Ezra and Thrawn there in the first place. The Purgle can cover that vast distance.
Do you think they'll use magic to like bring the fleet back with them? And the thing, like they'll like should like and like tying it together with some green magic stuff or something like because that's my other like logistical question, because the first logistical question we had from what I thought I knew was how did they get out there? Why haven't they gone out there? And how do they get back? But then also we know that the Chimera is out there. We know that it's operational. It works, and that stuff I believe it does anyways. And it's like they built the set and everything, so it's like. They clearly like come back with it. I think they would come back with it.
Well, I think that's why the Aya Scion is so big. I think it's so big so that it can attach to.
So you think it's like the size of like a Death Star or something? Like it's that big?
No, the Death like the size of a Star Destroyer. Like the size of a Chimera.
But he has like 5 ships in his like fleet, right?
Right. So that's a good question. So I think first of all, it's the size of like the Chimera.
Okay.
so that
So
it'll
it's just
be a
going to bring back
docking
the
ring.
flagship.
But you go back to the Heir to the Empire novels and the Katana fleet. The unique thing about the Katana fleet is all of the ships were tied together through a master control. And so if you could break the master control, then you could keep them from, because they didn't have enough forces to man all the ships.
Yeah.
And so they just needed to man one, and then they could put just a couple people on each of the others. And
I guess they could always send it back too,
command them
and
all.
pick up the rest of the ships and like.
Well,
we
you
just sit there
could
and watch it, right?
But I think you might be onto something, because if they do a master control ship with the Ion and the Chimera, and then use, like you're saying, the magic or something like that that ties to the other ships that he may have there, then they go where it goes. And so he could be dragging them along. So I think you're onto something. And that ties into what I was theorizing about the Lost Katana fleet and how they may adapt that basic story point into this without it being a direct adaptation of the novel.
Yeah, because Thrawn just coming back with his fleet at all is somewhat of that concept just being executed, even if it's on accident.
Yes, that's not accident. Because I agree with Temple here, right? Where Dave is doing it on purpose, right?
He's been pretty like adamant. I'm not adapting Heir to the Empire, though. He's been saying I'm not adapting Heir to the Empire. I'm not doing that.
Right.
So
and Paleon, he should be out there as well, unless he's dead. But Paleon went. Presumably, Paleon was with them in the finale of Rebels. If the Purgle, it's unclear. Did the Purgle leave Paleon and his Star Destroyer, or did they take it too? They took the Chimera for sure, but did they take Paleon and his Star Destroyer? We see 3 Star Destroyers in that finale. One of them crashes to the ground, but 2 of them, one gets, the Chimera gets purgled away. The Paleons, we don't know. So that's the question. Paleon could be there. There could be other.
Well, I think we know from Mando that Paleon's not there then, because he's meeting with the council with the guys and everything like that. So I don't think their phones work that good, or else Thrawn would just be calling them saying, "Hey guys, everybody get in order. Stop messing around with this."
So maybe it's just the Chimera that's there.
Maybe maybe it is.
They don't have more. It's just the Chimera coming back then.
Yeah, this is like all like logistical stuff. I was like, I don't understand it. So
I've got to run, but thank you for having me on.
Thanks, Meg.
Bye,
Thank
Meg.
you so much.
Thank you, Santa and Jason.
Have a wonderful weekend. Say hi to your mom.
I will. Thank you.
Yeah. Say sup, mama.
Take care.
Sup.
All right. Bye. Okay. So he was on the Shadow Council. He's definitely not there. So that answers the question about Paleon being there. Paleon could still be in, say, Mando 4.
I think we know his heart
gets back. Right. Thrawn's going to reconnect to the remnants of the Empire, and Paleon's part of that. So is Gideon, right? So, okay. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. I want to tie to Bespin's article.
Yeah.
Bespin Bulletin, our good friend Bespin. And I told Jason beforehand, I read this before we came on stream, and there was a big typo in there that's fantastic. So
I don't think that's fair.
I refuse to refresh my screen.
You should hit F5 right now.
Nope. Not going to do it. Nope. Only if Bespin gets on in here in time to stop me. Bespin's got the permalink. I sent him the link. He can join anyone. So if Bespin doesn't want shown,
he will not give in to your terrorist acts. You don't negotiate with terrorists.
So I'm going to show the typo because it's fantastic, and I told Jason text Bespin right before.
He is accidentally writing the Fandom Menace playbook for them right now with the word.
So I think that's how the Ahsoka and them are going to get out there. They're going to use the Purgle to go.
Yeah.
And the Ion, they're chasing them out there. They're going to get there. Thrawn's going to come back, as you say, at the very end. So we've got a lot this show is building towards. And these first 2 episodes did a good job. We've got 2 more episodes before we get to perhaps what Bespin tells us here. The episode when we get to see Anakin. When do we get to see Anakin? People are asking. And he says, hey, I've got this newly created Patreon. As I told you guys earlier, that's the way to do it. With Patreon, you guys could go out to Patreon and support Bespin. And so he can get a spell checker.
If people don't, he's gonna quit. I'm telling you. A couple of times, I thought he was gone. I thought he was out.
I'm hazing him because he's a friend. But anyway, yes, he makes a very small amount from what he does here for all of us, and we all benefit from it.
Well, like when one of these stories blows up, like if you don't have the hosting for it, you have to upgrade your hosting. You end up spending, $160 to $100 a month on hosting, and then your article makes $1 for you off of the ads. And so it's like, yeah, really, realistically, you do need that financial support from your actual readers, or it just won't be around. It won't be worth it.
That's right. I saw this question before, and Temple, thank you for posting it again. Do you think they'll show us Scion destroying an important planet? I don't think Scion, the Eye of Scion, is a weapon per se. I think it's a hyperdrive. It's a giant hyperdrive ring. It's got 10 hyperdrive engines in it, and it's got now the map to where they need to go. So
I suppose you could fly it into a planet if you wanted to, though, or
really
something.
Fast.
Maybe.
Well,
yeah. You could hold them, maneuver it if you wanted to, maybe.
Yeah,
and maybe they will. I don't know.
But no, it's not a weapon. It's not like a Death Star where it's going to have a concentric, laser that goes out and destroys something. It's not. That's not what it is. So no, I do not think we will see this Eye of Scion destroying a planet at all.
Right.
And do you think we'll see Vader flashbacks? I think we'll see Vader in a sense, according to Jason's leaks and such. We are expecting to see maybe a rehash of the battle on Mustafar with an Anakin who has already been knighted Darth Vader, but he's not wearing the armor. And then we are expecting to perhaps get the scene where Ahsoka splits his helmet and she sees his face in there. And I'll talk about that as we go through Bespin's article, because he includes a lot of good stuff in this article. Mm-hmm. So he says fans have known that Hayden is set to appear in the series, and it says reports swirled last year he was reprising the role, but the actor played ignorant. Yes. Rosario. Since then, wait a minute. Since then, there's been
I don't know what you're saying right now. You're just like reading words.
No. Says I skipped. So since then, there's been reports of what Anakin's role in the series is, and the voice of the character can be heard in one of the TV spots for the sports. The TV sports, I love TV sports, especially we've got college football starting back up. Those are my favorite TV sports. But in a TV spot for Ahsoka, you can hear Anakin kind of teaching Ahsoka, like perhaps in a flashback or a memory, right? So it begs the question, which episode will he be in? He says, I've heard Anakin is set to appear in the 5th episode of the series, being directed by Dave Filoni, and sits about a 49-minute runtime. All of that math works out, right? Mm-hmm. Says, I'm sure many could assume that due to the director, but from what I've been hearing the past week or so, those assumptions are correct. Anakin Skywalker will supposedly appear in Ahsoka episode 5, from what I've been hearing. That's great. And now the question is it Force Ghost Anakin? Is it flashback Anakin? Is it a vision in a dream Anakin? Is it a world between worlds Anakin? What sense of that do we have?
Yeah.
I think
to what extent are they going to use what they filmed is the other thing too.
Well, yeah,
because they used him for a fair. I wouldn't say, when I say a fair amount, I mean I think he probably did like about a week's worth of shooting on the show. So in total.
Sam the Sham asked a question, sort of. He says, "We're getting to wonder if Favreau saying Grogu trained with Luke for like 2 years was not a slip up, but an accounting of time between Ahsoka, Mando 2, and the conclusion of Ahsoka season 1."
It's something like that, I think.
Yeah,
but I don't think it. I think it's like funny accounting to make these things like concurrently set, and they can't explain it to us.
I think it's a short amount of time Grogu was with Luke. At the end of the day, not very long. But so the impression I have of this is that it's my opinion, and it probably differs from yours, is that Rosario's having some dreams, some visions, some nightmares, some like PTSD kind of stuff. We've already seen she's kind of brooding and like not exactly cheerful. I think that she hasn't dealt yet with what she saw when she split his helmet and saw that's Anakin in there as Vader. She knows that that's Anakin. She saw him. And we didn't see after that how she dealt with learning that. And we're going to see a vision or a dream of her reliving that in her mind, splitting that open. And that is, so I think that's one scene. Like she's dreaming, she's having a vision, she's remembering, she's still dealing with the PTSD of it all. And then wondering if she could have stopped it. Could I have stopped him from becoming that? Right? Could I have done anything? Maybe if I didn't leave the order, maybe this, maybe that. And that's when we get another vision of her being on Mustafar, where she could have prevented, she would have been there and she may have been able to walk him back from being Vader. But it doesn't work out.
Yeah, and then it just means Obi-Wan dies now. And then she has to do his job.
Right.
She has to go through his suffering instead.
And so she learns that Anakin's path was his path all along. She could not have changed his path. Her path is what it is because of the decisions she's made. But I do not think that any of those visions happen in World Between Worlds portals, except maybe the memory of.
But I went through my notes.
Yeah,
they literally said that. Now, here's the thing, though: is that source bias? It could be. It could be. It's completely possible. But the World Between Worlds portal is on Lothal, and then they close it in Rebels, if I remember right. That temple was like kind of destroyed and stuff. So you really can't do it from. But they still are there. That might be not worth discounting off the top of our heads, but also at the same time. It might not be the World Between Worlds. It might be that this happens through the witch temple-y stuff that we're going through. The new place. I can't, like, it's magic, so it's almost impossible. And a lot of times people that are leaking to me are working on the show, but they're not carrying around like reading Dave Filoni's script with them. You know what I'm saying, guys? Like that's one of the kind of that's the
so they
shoot
a scene. You don't know if it's a vision that she's having in a dream or something that she's actually doing. But
I know they shot that. I don't know the context for 100% for how it is observed.
How it is observed.
Yeah.
So let me continue on because Besson has some more information in here. Something new. He dropped a little new tea in here.
What?
Not only that it's episode 5.
You better shut your mouth.
He did. He says, past reports from Making Star Wars, that's this guy, Jason.
This is what we just talked about.
Yeah. Claimed that Anakin would appear in scenes featuring the World Between Worlds. Now, this is what we're not 100% sure on. Could be the World Between Worlds, but it could be just a vision, as I am beginning to think.
Could be a vision, nightmare.
According to the reports, Ahsoka will see an alternate reality. This is what makes me think it's not the World Between Worlds. Because Dave, in interviews many times, has talked about it's not a place of alternate realities. It's not a place of timelines being split off. It is the timeline. It is all the times at once. And the way that it's described as equates to how we interact with Star Wars. You pop in A New Hope, that is like looking in a World Between Worlds portal. You pop in Rebels, you're watching a World Between Worlds portal. It is the timeline. There's no alternate New Hope where something else happens. It's not, there's no alternate versions. And so when it says Ahsoka sees an alternate reality, to me, that positively excludes that scene, this particular scene of being World Between Worlds. Makes me think it's a vision. Her thinking of a what if situation.
Yeah.
Dave assures
once
us
again,
that's not the case.
Yeah, to be clear, I don't have 100% that World Between Worlds is the way it's delivered, but people who told me did use the term.
Yeah. Yes.
So that is what it is.
Hey, and I texted you the other day. Happy
you.
belated birthday,
Yeah, thank
Jason.
you.
Yes, Jason.
I went out of town, so sorry I didn't text you back.
He's old. He's old now.
I just got back this morning, but I had a good time.
Like Monday, he wasn't old. Now he's old.
Now I'm old.
Yeah,
I'm old.
For sure. No, happy birthday, my friend. Happy birthday. And Mag, thank you for the super chat there as well. But is a vision impactful enough to create peace for Ahsoka? So let's keep going in the article because there's more. I want to think there could be both. I've been kind of ruling out the World Between Worlds because of like this statement, right? This to me is definitive. It is not World Between Worlds because World Between Worlds is not alternate reality.
Okay. We need to roll it back just a little baby bit here, though. Yeah. Yoda has lines about stuff you'll see that might happen, that might not happen.
Yeah.
Anakin misinterprets a vision in his stuff like that.
There you go. Yeah.
And the thing about the World Between Worlds context that people need to understand is it's like rooted in this elementary version of string theory, and in it, if it happened, then it happened. That's it.
Right.
So you can't go change things or whatever.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that in that place it's magic fairy tale BS.
Yes.
Just don't. It's not science. It's not real. The rules are going to be malleable to whatever the narrative needs in the moment.
Yep.
And it just is what it is. So that's why I'm not spending any more my brain power on this, because Dave will just go, oh well, she opened the door to the dead past. There's the dead past room, and then you're like, got it. Yeah, it's too
real
hard.
quick though. I'm saying I think I'm more and more thinking both after reading this, and I'll clarify that in a moment. But this is what made me think it wasn't at all. Now I'm starting to back that off and think maybe there is World Between Worlds, and there's visions, right? So we have visions of things, and we have some World Between Worlds things, and perhaps the one inspires the other. So I'll get there in just a moment. But Aurora Uplinks, thank you for the 3 months of membership. That's very helpful to the channel. That's tremendous. Thank you for that. It says, I would have liked it more if Ahsoka was about the events after Order 66 up to the Battle of Endor. Yeah, that's more about the coverage time of the novel. The Ahsoka novel is more in that space. It happens right after, about a year after the events of Order 66. Rebels takes us a portion of this timeline that you're talking about. Rebels covers immediately after the events of Order 66, leading up towards Endor, the Battle of Endor, New Hope. And also the book covers part of that. So her story is being covered in other medium. This is part of the entire Mandoverse, Filoniverse, and it's setting up the story for that. So all of these series going together, I think, there's still hope that we could get some of that story, but this is serving the purpose of filling in blanks for the Mandoverse era.
In my opinion, if it's around this time, they would probably use Rosario Dawson. But for the stuff that Aurora is mentioning, I think that it would most likely we could see that show up in like Tales of the Jedi. That would be the more like realistic place to see those stories be told in the future if that series should continue beyond the second season.
I agree with you. I think other medium is covering that era. And I know live action is where you would like to see it, but I just think it's being covered in other medium. Steven says Ivana Sakna's favorite episode is 6. Makes me wonder if it involves something big for Shin. Well, I think she's going to be on the Ion when they go there. So
I think episode 6 might be when they when the leaks I had where Sabine and her are fighting, and Balin and Ahsoka are fighting, and then Ezra's there doing the Force karate because he doesn't have a laser sword or something, I guess.
Sam asks, are episode 3 press screeners out? I don't think they do press screeners for episodes after the beginning. Like, I think
sometimes they do. It depends on how well the show's doing. If the show's doing well, they probably won't do it.
Yeah, I think initially, like sometimes when they send these things out, they'll send out like half the series, and then
like Willow, we got episode 1 through 7, and we didn't get episode 8.
Right. And so what they'll say, well, okay, from the screeners, we're only going to talk about 1 and 2 because that's this week, and the screeners for 3 you've already had, but you didn't talk about them because it didn't happen. So I don't think that's the case here with Ahsoka. The screeners that went out from the folks that that didn't go to the premieres but actually got the screeners, I think it was only the 2 episodes. I think. I don't think they sent them like 7.
Yeah.
So let's get back to the story because there's more. There's more, and it'll spur some of the other stuff we're talking about. It says, so this alternate reality, I think, is in a vision, right, where the younger version faces against Anakin on Mustafar, and that a dummy. I was going to make a joke about this too. Right? It says her former master movement during the events of Revenge of the Sith, and that a dummy. That means Jason. That was Jason. Jason was used for the dead Obi-Wan Kenobi. How do you think he get these leaks? He was playing dead.
I just dressed up in an Obi-Wan costume and I lay on the ground. Somebody picks me up and puts me on the set.
And you notice how Bespin put making Star Wars dummy and MSW all in yellow.
Yeah, what's he trying to say here?
Yeah, I think Jason. I think he's calling you a dummy.
He bought me the Fortnite pass for my birthday that has Ahsoka in it.
That's great.
It must have been because he felt guilty about this paragraph.
Calling you a dummy. That's right there. You can clearly see it. Right. See it. I joke. These are just hyperlinks.
Yeah.
Anyway, I joke. This is it reported Darth Vader team involved in Obi-Wan Kenobi series reunited for Ahsoka, and the new scenes featuring Vader will also be present in the World Between Worlds scenes. This, I think, could be. If she is in World Between Worlds looking at what happened, and we see the live action replay of what we already saw in Rebels, this could be a World Between Worlds scene. So that's why I'm now starting to back off and think maybe they'll have both. We'll have visions of her, because let's say she sees this.
But what if it's just magic? What if they just use magic to make Darth Vader pop out and attack her, and like that, because that's her worst fear or something? I don't, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day,
but but wait, there's more.
Okay.
Wait, there's more.
There's more.
Wait,
Santa, did you say there's more?
There is. No. So if she goes and sees this, and she's looking at other scenes, right? So she sees this scene, she remembers it. She's following what happened. She's wondering, well, what happens if I did this? What happens if I did that? She could be having visions, also like the nightmares, the thoughts, like what if I would have done this other stuff, and seeing that play out in her own head. Right. But also like Luke being, seeing visions of things that may not happen. She could have visions, and they could have been inspired by. She sees this, and there's more. Hold on. It says no details about what those scenes showcased. Theory is it's a live action Ahsoka and Vader scene from second season of Rebels. Yeah, that's speculation, but though not confirmed. Here's the new piece. Anakin Skywalker's dialogue featured in the aforementioned Ahsoka spot points towards a Clone Wars flashback era, which I have heard is the case. It's likely that the Clone Wars flashback will feature in Episode 5 along with the Mustafar scenes and unknown Darth Vader scenes. So this is going to be heavy on World Between Worlds, visions, things happening, right? It says more Anakin scenes could be featured in the episode, but that's unknown. One thing I had previously heard, and must trust, take as rumor, is Anakin speaks directly to Ahsoka through the world between worlds. That he speaks directly to her.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like, but once again, we always have to just, even though I totally believe Bespin Bolton 100%. He doesn't fake anything, but it's like, is the source having a bias based off of other knowledge that may have been put there by us asking, is it the world between worlds, or is there other place and going, oh well, that must be it, like, or because like they don't understand, you know what I mean? So I'm with you in the sense that I think we should be cautious about the world between worlds, but also there's all of this smoke around the world between worlds being in this show, and it not being exactly what Dave was saying in the context of Rebels. Of that always happened. That moment always happened because time is happening all at once.
Well, it should be. So I saw somebody put in here question. Hold on, let me go back.
Mm-hmm.
Where was it? Where is it? Somebody asked the question, didn't Ezra pull... Where'd it go? I just saw it. It wasn't that long ago. Ezra pulled her out. So yeah, Ezra pulled Ahsoka from that scene, but then puts her right back in. And at the end of that, you can see her walking. And if you roll back, you go back to episode or season 2 when she fought Vader the first time, like when it happened, and she didn't get pulled out, or we didn't see her get pulled out. We see like her fighting Vader. She splits his helmet open, and then there's this big rumble, and Vader escapes, and you don't see Ahsoka. You're like, oh no, did she die? Oh no. But at the end of that episode, at the very end, you can see her walking in that episode. And then in season 4, when he goes to the world between worlds and he sees her fighting Vader there, he pulls her out right at that collapse scene and then puts her back. So it explains how she survived the collapse of the temple, but she always survived it, because even back when we saw it the first time, she survived it. So it's not like that changed anything. So you don't have a split timeline. A lot of people thought there's the Ahsoka lives and there's the Ahsoka dies timelines. That never happened. She survived. She always survived. And Dave's done lots of interviews talking about the world between worlds, and he did more recent ones as well about the world between worlds. So I do not think alternate reality is there, but I do think she could see scenes like that scene, and she could be following, like, how did this happen? And she gets back to the Mustafar scene. She gets back, with Obi-Wan, because how does she know Obi-Wan was there? How does all this happen? So she could then be having visions of what if,
right,
that are not world between worlds scenes, but they're connected to, because they're inspired by, right? She sees this scene, so she then has a vision. What if I had done this? She sees this, and then she has a vision. What if I had done it? And to the point that you mentioned before, we shouldn't get tied up like this is going to be a 20-minute fight scene, right?
I don't think so.
Hopping around in lava and stuff. That it's probably going to be 10, 15-second kind of things, so get that in your head. But this is interesting. And he says, the reason I ask you to take it as a rumor is because I've only heard it once. But it did come from a person that provided information that turned out to be correct, even if I never reported it. As my readers likely know, I aim to have at least 2 sources on a report before releasing it. And this is the reason I would not refresh the page, because there's been various rumors of the younger Ahsoka. So this is the Ahsoka.
That's not my Ahsoka. That's an Ahsoka. It's fake. It's a trick.
You've been looking for the term to use, like you've got, what is it? It's not Luke Skywalker. It's Jake Skywalker. Mm-hmm. Well, now you have it. You've got Ahsoka Tano. You've got Ahsoka Tano right there. Best friend.
Easy typo.
It's probably already been fixed. If I refresh,
you have 5 and find out.
Okay, I'll do it now that I've revealed it. Oh look, he fixed it.
I told him, I was like, Santa's coming for you.
I couldn't help it. I would not refresh until we got to show it on screen. Now it's been on YouTube. It's official, Bespin.
It was I think it was Santa's a hoax.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Says there's been various rumors of the younger Ahsoka now featured in these alternate reality flashback scenes, played by Liana Valerian.
I never heard this
Savannah
stuff.
Stein. Right.
I never heard any of young actors who were playing the part of young Ahsoka or anything.
And he says the same.
I know that if the depiction is there. That was one of the things I put out, that like younger Ahsoka would be in the show. I think the flashback audio might confirm that we have of Anakin talking to her about what she's going to be up against during the Clone Wars. But well, yeah, I put my story out, and then that stuff started hitting. It could have just been because it was just like a coincidence. It could have been because of that made that get pushed out. Yeah. But there was a ton of one of these people. I don't remember who it is, but the House of Dragons girls, a bunch of people were very into her and were putting her in everything, saying she was this and everything. Cause they were like, and so I'm not saying it's not real, but I'm very like, well, I'm not buying it.
Well, and that's what he says is like there are rumors of it. He says, personally, I've not heard this from any source and have not seen it being reported from a credible outlet or individual.
And to be clear, like what usually happens is like when they say Savannah Stein is in somebody working out, go, hey, did you hear the Savannah Stein rumor? And we'll go, yeah. And then they'll go like, yeah, it's real. Right. That's usually what happens. And that never happened. I never actually dug on it though, so I should probably shut my mouth. But I never dug on it, but no one ever brought it up to me or to Bespin, apparently, according to what he's saying.
Yeah, so. And he says he finds that it would be a great choice. As far as fan casting goes, it'd be a great choice. But then it says the report from Making Star Wars, a previous linked to earlier in this article, revealed that the purpose of Ahsoka Tano seeing the alternate reality in the world between worlds, along with the possible flashbacks or visions, right, as I like to say, is for the titular character. It's not a Bespin article unless he gets titular in there. Mm-hmm. So this is bonus content just because he had to write something. No, I kid. It says the purpose of it is to accept what became of Anakin Skywalker and accept destiny. Right? I wonder if Skywalker possibly talking to Ahsoka in the episode is part of Ahsoka accepting the past.
That's also my take on it, and my understanding of all of the stuff was, had things been different for you, actually would have been worse for you. And then all of this happened because what's about to happen is your destiny. When this guy comes back to destroy the galaxy, they saved at that time. You could have been Obi-Wan, but this is yours. This one right here is your generation. You're the next generation of those guys' heroes. It goes Obi-Wan, Anakin, then Ahsoka. Ahsoka, this is her generation's issue. This is where she needs to be the 40-year-old Jedi who saves the galaxy now. And,
and I think that the reason, well, not the reason. There was a question that came up about why is Ahsoka so broody? Like, why is she like different? Why she walk away from Sabine? We don't know that. And I think
she's a ball punk. Ahsoka likes real punk. She's like, you are a hot topic ball punk. No, see this right here? This ain't a uniform. It's in here, bud. She doesn't understand it.
I think too that why she didn't train Grogu, why she's not, why she didn't get more involved with the original trilogy era. Why she did, like, she's still dealing with the emotional recoil of seeing Anakin when she split Vader's helmet, and she's never dealt with that emotionally, and she's wearing some guilt, she's wearing some weight of that, thinking it's my fault. Had I stayed, had I been able to help Anakin through this issue, this we wouldn't have had all of this happen if I had only done the right thing. And
Yeah,
the reason she
Anakin joined a cult. Anakin joined a cult at the end of the day, and Palpatine pushed out all of his friends, separated his friends from him, and then got him in the cult.
Sure.
So like her perspective is I think pretty smart. It's a pretty good.
And so she's thinking it's my fault. She's got to come to terms with it. And this episode of her going into the world between worlds, her seeing these things, her having these visions. I think they're two separate things, right? And maybe three things. We could have flashbacks, we could have visions, we could have world between worlds. I think all of that is on the table, and that it's about Ahsoka's emotional and psychological dealing with what has happened and coming to terms with it. And we may see a bit of an evolution of her character there as she turns the corner, and then embraces Sabine more positively than this kind of tension that they've been building in this. This seems a little bit awkward, to be honest, in the first 2 episodes, but I think we'll see that move forward. And this episode 5 is going to be a great pivotal part of the series season, and that's why I mentioned 6, 7, 8. I think are the Thrawn episodes. 5 we may not see Thrawn until the very end of 5, if at all. It's going to be I think a heavy Ahsoka episode. That's just my thought. But it ties into Jason's leaks, yours. It ties into Bespin's leaks, and ties into a lot of what Filoni has given us so far. So and it goes to something that we said at the very beginning of the show, that this show is giving fans more to talk about than probably any of the others because of the way it ties into the lore. You know, are the Zepho? Is that it? Zepho? Are they going to be involved? Are they part of the Night Sister history?
Yeah.
Are they part of the?
I think they should. They're supposed to be died. They're supposed to be dead, right?
Well, the Night Sisters is that contingent
too. Yeah.
But Morgan was part of them, but now she may get reconnected to these Light Sisters, or we may actually see them lean into the witches versus Night Sisters, and these witches cast out the Night Sisters, said, no, you guys got to go. So it could be something like that.
But yeah, and I want to be cautious about that line of thinking, what that is, how that goes. And also, if they're so freaking good, why are they withdrawn? Think about that too. You know what I mean? So if that was the case.
Well, and again, what's Thrawn going to be?
Yeah.
Like, he's been a force for good in the largest portion of his story. Yeah. And he could be out here helping the defenseless. He could be out here trying to fight off evil. He could be working with them because they are fighting off an evil threat. They could, and that evil threat, is it the Zepho? Right? There seems to be some connection.
This is a lot of blah 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 for you to say Grisk. You just want to say Grisk. Just say Grisk a bunch of times. That's what you want. I know you. I know
it's your birthday, Jason.
Everybody sees through it. You want to just say Grisk. You're like, I'm going to say Zepho so they can't jump down my throat. I got you.
I know. You know me too. That was good. Hey, Thomas, thank you for the $5 super chat. Any credence to Skull and Haiti being based on Norse wolves of the same name, or theory that Sabine has Night Sister magic rather than the Force? I would say certainly Skull and Haiti being Norse wolves are the reason they have that name. Is there a wolf tie-in? Will Morgan and I talk about this all the time. I don't know that they're actually like going to dive that deep to make them parallels to those Norse gods, but I am absolutely certain that Dave picked them because those are wolf names, because of his obsession with wolves. And any what about the
just call it what it is?
The theory that Sabine has Night Sister magic? I don't think so. But there's another theory out there that I've yet to share. Jason doesn't even know this. And
What?
where's Rob? Rob will be hazing me here on this next one. You ready? Where's Rob? Rob, are you listening? Here you go. Lord of the Rings. It's Lord of the Rings again.
Okay.
Lord of the Rings, the king, right? The Return of the King. He fixed a broken sword. Right?
Okay.
Remember? Remember?
Nah, I was washing my hair.
Come on. There's a broken sword. There's
The movie was like 3 hours long. I mean, remember the broken sword? I mean,
there's a broken sword. Yeah, so we know that in the Lord of the Rings, there's a king, the Return of the King. The king had
Elvis.
I'm looking to see what the name of that sword is, because I keep getting it wrong. I don't want to get the name of the sword wrong again. I've got it here. Will Morgan and I were talking about it. We'll put it in the chat. Let's see. Where is it? Where is it, Will? Just a second.
Well,
Broken sword.
Elvis sounds like
Narsil.
Elf, and he's the king, so therefore Elvis was a callback to Lord of the Rings.
Narsil is the broken sword. And he puts it back together and he rises to be king at the end. And Sabine had the dark saber. The dark saber is broken. We have the broken sword. We have the broken Narsil. And putting the dark saber back together again could be the same as putting back together Narsil, and perhaps Sabine will be the next Mandalore, like Mandalore the Great, the Mandalore that had that created the dark saber, used the Force, and he was Mandalorian. Sabine, we've been thinking for a long time they were going to set up somebody else, maybe Grogu, to be the Mandalore.
Man, if they did that, that would just make Mandalorian season 3 the most redundant piece of expensive material ever made in the history of Star Wars.
Sabine, the Mandalore.
We didn't need to do any of that.
There you go. Sabine, the Mandalore. So about her having Night Sister magic? No. But Sabine being the Mandalore. Remember, Will Morgan said it first. I see how I deflected that way when Rob hazes me about it. I said, no, Will Morgan said it.
Yeah. I want to sign a petition to have Will Morgan change his name to WHILL. Is that fair? Can we do that?
Jason, have you ever played Star Wars Dark Forces? Because it's supposed to be getting remastered.
Yeah, is that really happening? I wasn't sure if that was like real or true. I wonder if a game like that holds up with updated graphics and stuff, but
I don't know.
Could be cool.
Could the Mustafar flashback extend far enough to see Ahsoka with Padme? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, when he says could, the answer is well, yeah, it could happen, but I doubt we have anything with Portman and in Star Wars or whatever. I don't think we have anything going on there.
Temple asks, "What's my biggest Star Wars hot take?" Meg and Jason know this, but my favorite character in all of the movies, right? So the 9 saga movies plus the Solo and of the movies, theatrical releases, my favorite character is Rey. That's my biggest hot take. He says, mine is I love Mara Jade. Hot takes is George hates her. Right? So that's it for me. Let's see if I get caught up with the chat, because I think there's Kenobi and okay, yeah. I wanted Rey to be a nobody. I wanted her to be a clone, actually, and have hundreds of clone sisters, so that the mirror scene in The Last Jedi is almost a literal, with that infinite line of Reys that they snap the fingers, right? And she turns around and sees that those would be essentially, thousands of Rey clones, none of them Force sensitive except her. Or maybe the dark sister that she meets in Rise of Skywalker, that they would be the actual 2 that had Force. One chose light, one chose dark, and they have a battle. That's what I wanted to happen. I thought it'd been really cool. So Rise of Skywalker kind of let me down there.
So you wanted that like Superman ending where Superman fights himself in the junkyard?
Yes. Yeah. Let's see. Get caught up with the chat. I fell behind when I paused there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, nope, we're caught up. Do you think Morgan knew Marin? Oh, that's a good question, Brandon, because we only know of two surviving Night Sisters. Marin from the video game, right?
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order.
Yeah.
And now Morgan. Yes, I think that they most likely did know each other because there's like a sisterhood, right? The Night Sisters. I would think that they would know each other.
Yeah, it would depend on like what the scope of it, because like you see a thing, and it looks like there's probably like 100 of them, but then like when you see if George Lucas never told me there was 10,000 Jedi and the Phantom Menace or whatever, I would think there was probably like 100 of them. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know how they're gonna wash that out and make it make sense and stuff like that. But she's young. This is the other thing to remember is she's like a kid when that stuff goes down. So I kind of don't think she might know her, but she also might not, because who knows what she remembers and what she actually like kept with her and stuff. But Morgan's a bad guy. Morgan's, as this goes on, I think we're going to see that. I think she's going to be evil. And I think that, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe she's a survivor because she already betrayed him. She might have betrayed him before. She might, you know what I mean? She might have been. And look at how she's an Imperial during the Empire after the Confederacy wiped out the Night Sisters. But does she know? Like, does she know that it was Palpatine and that it was all a big ruse? Because if she does and she's still working for the Empire, it says she doesn't care. She's just out for herself. But she also doesn't have to know anything. She might not know that. She might have just think, oh, this Empire came in and replaced the guys who killed my people. They're my friend. Like, it could be that it could go either way in this narrative, I think.
I agree. We've gotten a couple of things sent to me during the show. Matt Risman sent me this. It says, you see in the subtitles, right? Mysterious voice, Morgan, indistinguishing whispering. And he says, like it or not, I think Thrawn is talking to Morgan. I don't. So she could be hearing Thrawn, but I think, again, it's the Night Sisters. Like, you know how they have those cauldrons or whatever, and they have the magics, and it's got the green, like, foggy stuff, and the flames and all that.
But like,
they could very well be opening a portal there where Thrawn is talking to Morgan, but it's them that's communicating with her, not him. Like, what I'm saying is, I don't think Thrawn is doing a Luke Skywalker to Leia. I don't think Thrawn's going.
And you know what Filoni's going to say when he gets asked about it? Well, what you have to kind of understand is that there's like everybody's tapping into this force. They just like use it in different ways. That's going to be the answer.
And I think that the Night Sisters,
that's going to be it. That's it. Like,
I think they're creating a portal that does that. I don't think Thrawn is doing it himself. I think he has to have their help to do it. I think they're the ones making the connection. He's transmitting the message.
But or he might be in a Night Sister temple and she could hear what goes on in those walls.
Again,
and he's just sitting in there going, Morgan, come get me. I need a ride. Come on. And she's hearing
exactly.
that, you know,
and sending information about sending information about this ring, right? So that could the ring of Sion. That could be coming from him as well. Like, he could have learned all this stuff while he's in this other galaxy.
Yeah.
This other galaxy. Another point. Somebody asked me the other day, could the Milky Way, like our galaxy, be part of Star Wars? I think that it is, because in the very opening, it says in a galaxy far, far away. It doesn't say in a different place, right?
Our galaxy hasn't formed yet.
Our galaxy is it either hasn't formed yet, or it's one of the ones that are far, far away, and like they're not here. But
they're never going to Battlestar Galactica Star Wars.
Right. That's what I brought up that the other day. So, and then this is stuff Baymax has sent us. This is from episode 1. I sent him the markers for it this morning. He screen capped it. This is the ghost.
Where's the arrow to Hera's big old booty?
This is
that's all I see.
Jason can't see. Yeah,
I can't not see that orange booty. That booty's orange, and it's just like
there's the rear engines. It's since you're looking at the rear engines of the ghost.
rear engines. You said it, Baymax.
And there, like it from this is the ghost in the hangar. So if you stop
how did it
and look
die?
at this fuzzy blob right here, this fuzzy piece, this is the ghost, and then
Ghost photography.
and this is the ghost cockpit. Looking through the window here, right?
A little bit of ghost cock in this episode. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, he's a little. Baymax is just a little obsessed with the ghost.
Yeah,
Just a little. Just this much.
He's a little weirdo. He's a little weirdo.
And they have the HasLab thing where they're backing the ghost, and they just unlocked.
Baymax is like now a ghost hunter. In case you don't know,
they just unlocked Ezra, so we're still working. The next unlock is Kanan, and then after that is Zeb. So we need more people to back the ghost on the HasLab thing. But
save your money, guys.
I think we've covered like the real leaky kind of stuff, the real spoilery kind of stuff. There's lots more to talk about, of course. We do our predictions game, and Jason, did you see you're on there?
How did I do?
You're on there in for episode 2 right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look there, jump it, JB, making Star Wars.
All right,
Mike Yaney, Nerd Mafia, Seth Nico,
Jamie, I'm coming for you.
So there you go.
Jamie.
For episode 2, you made it. Episode 1, you didn't make the cut. It didn't make the cut. No.
Didn't I write it's like kind of slow and boring? That's 5 points, right? No? Okay.
No,
Okay.
That's not how that works. But we do a predictions game. It's a lot of fun. Jason plays along. Meg plays along from time to time. You see other folks there. And if you would like to see your name on the little scrolly thing down there, all you have to do is do the predictions game and get as many correct or more than me. You have to tie or beat Santa, and you can get on the Wall of Fame for an episode. And if you do that enough, you get onto a season leaderboard where you have, for the season, as many correct or more than me, you get onto the leaderboard for the season. And at the end of the season, if your name is still on the leaderboard, when all is said and done, you get some Star Wars Santa merch.
Santa, you had him at tie and beat Santa. They were down to tie and beat you. And then now you're saying there's presents too?
There's presents, absolutely. And I pay for it. I ship it to you. There's no cost to you whatsoever. The game is free to play. You don't have to be a member. You don't have to subscribe. You don't have to be a patron. Anybody can play, and you can get Star Wars Santa merch for free. But if you'd like to support the channel, if you want to help me buy that merch for all the people like KG and others who have beat me, then you can support us by joining on Patreon for just as little as $1 a month. Just $1. You can support us over on Patreon, and that gives you access to videos that are only on Patreon. It gives you access to a monthly call with me where we talk about stuff that we can't talk about here on YouTube, and we do other stuff. And then you get to support the channel. It's a great way to do it. As I mentioned before, our friend Jason, Making Star Wars, he has a Patreon, and that's a great way to help him out as well. And of course, Bespin, Meg, we all have our Patreon, and just $1 does a lot. It really does, because added together, your financial support does a lot to help us do what we do.
Big time.
And have more fun. Mm-hmm. Just enjoying Star Wars. So on a 10-point scale for episodes 1 and 2 together, where are you?
Make a 7.
Like a 7?
Yeah.
I'm about 8.5.
Yeah, and I don't give 10s for the record. A 10, so like a 9 is like as good as it can get. So if you give 10s, and then you could say give it an 8. But I people thought I was really down on it. I found it intriguing but there was just enough time in the edit. Like she's doing a Rubik's Cube for like 3 minutes. It feels like I'm like, come on, fast forward the edit. Let's do this. I know when the line lines up. I don't need this to take so long. And so it kind of like tested my patience, but I don't think that's going to be a problem with the next episodes. I think it's, like I said, I think it was just kind of like getting the intrigue rolling. I don't think Dave Filoni's had a lot of opportunities to do that in a narrative over the years. When you think about it.
Well, we still have some things that are in the trailer we haven't seen yet. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen the episode with Jason Syndulla in the Ghost with Hera. We haven't seen Mon Mothma. We haven't seen Ahsoka fight Balin.
We haven't seen the double fight as well out with the trees.
In the woods. Yep, we haven't seen that. So there's still a lot in the next 2 episodes before they go. Yeah. So 3 and 4, we know they're going to be trying to stop them from engaging the Eye of Sion to go.
Right.
But eventually they're going to lose that battle and have to get there. We haven't seen the Purgle. I think we'll see those in the next 2 episodes. All of that stuff we're going to see in the next 2 episodes. Mm-hmm. Episode 5, we now, with Bespin's help, we think is going to be involve a lot of Anakin and Ahsoka coming to terms with the whole their destinies, so to speak, and then 6, 7, and 8, Thrawn. Pretty exciting stuff. Exciting stuff.
I that rings true with everything I think happens as well.
Yeah.
You know.
And people asked me before, do we think Thrawn's going to be only in the very end, or barely in the season? I think we're going to get 6, 7, and 8 from everything that I know.
Yeah. Like I said, second half, he's in it a lot. First half, I don't know if he even pops up. So,
what if Thrawn brought Nihilus back? Dark
Nihilus.
And also, there's still some talk about who the Morak is. Morak.
Maybe he's just some loser. I think
he's just Morak.
Well, here's the whole thing: is like narratives don't work the way that like there's nothing in the narrative that's making you ask who that is. That's just you doing that. There was absolutely no moment of intrigue of who is it. Remember when Boba Fett walked into that frame in season 1 of Mandalorian, we saw his little feet. We could hear the spurs.
Yeah.
You knew it was Boba Fett if you knew the spur, that's definitely Boba Fett in the end. We knew that was going to be that. That's called setting it up. That's something intriguing to make you ask, who's it going to be? Mark has nothing going for him whatsoever on that at all yet. Now, if it happens, it happens, but it has not happened yet. And if all of a sudden she takes it up and says, I'm Barry Sophie, it will be like the cheapest, no, you didn't earn that reveal a moment.
Not Barris, also not Ezra. And Thor Skywalker did a great video.
It's anybody.
I know, but
Thor Skywalker doesn't cite his sources, so I don't care.
I'm just saying, I get you. But at the same time, and that's the most popular one right now.
Yeah.
Is Ezra, but he really broke that down.
It's not Ezra though. I mean,
we know that Ezra.
We know that from the stuff I've talked about. Like
it's 100% not Ezra.
It's me, guys. You don't need to go get me. And they'd be like, "Cool, let's just blow up the Eye of Sion and not let them get there, and everything's great." 2 episodes, we're out.
We're out.
Seriously.
Exactly. No, yeah, it's not Ezra. 100% not Ezra. It's not Barris Sophie. And if you go and read the new book, Red Blade or whatever,
somebody to kill because they weren't going to kill the
exactly.
That's what I think. Anyways.
The Inquisitors, when they get recruited, they go by their name until they get their designation, and their designation gives them like the 5th brother, right? The 3rd sister, whatever it is, right? So that's the name they get. They don't get a different name. They are. That's what they are.
Not Sith. So
when they go there and they're interacting with one another before they get their designation, they're still who they were.
Yeah,
and that's it. And they have to earn the brother sister designation. So Marok, if he is an Inquisitor, if he truly is an Inquisitor, then that's who he is. if he is somebody who's is LARPing as an Inquisitor, who's really somebody else, but just wants to, he thinks pretending to be an Inquisitor is the thing to do, then yeah. But no, he's Marek. Mike Porter dad joke. What did the droid say when Sabine was having a tough time? He said, "It'll get better. Hang in there." It's a good one. It's a good one, Mike Porter. Thank you for that.
What did the Jedi say when he had a big lightsaber? He was young. That's for you, Mike. That's for you.
There's another thing out there that I want to talk about real quick, and then we got to call it.
Okay.
Baylan and Shin, dad and daughter.
Could be a kink-driven relationship for all we know, but no, it's Padawan.
I know it is.
Yeah. Could she be the biological like daughter? I think that would be a really interesting take on it, and I think it would be revealed earlier.
Oh, okay.
Because we don't have any like dramatic stakes in. Oh, that's his daughter. Like we would just be like, it would just be an interesting thing, like a dynamic between them if that was the case.
Yeah.
And so I think they would like say like my father. Like there would be like this like whole thing where she's like, they're like taking it that way. No,
well,
not hey dad. You can't you don't train to be like an evil Jedi and you're like, hey dad. No, it'd be like father, But yeah. But that idea is an interesting concept unto itself. If you have somebody who breaks away from the Jedi, goes along their own path, and has a kid, and then trains them as the Padawan, it would be interesting.
Both of those characters are fascinating to me, and like he survived Order 66. He knew Anakin. There's a line coming, and we've heard it in the trailers about him knowing Anakin, and it says, but few people saw what he grew to become, something like that.
The hero without fear.
He knows that he's going to become Vader, presumably. Yeah. But I don't think Baylan is Sith-ish. I don't think he's a dark. I don't think he's any of that.
I think he's like a Jedi nihilist at this point.
Yeah.
He's just become like nothing matters, everything's fake, nothing's real, everything's corrupt, everything about do you. And I think that's where he's at. Like that from what we know and what we've seen. Jedi nihilist.
Yeah, that's what I think too. And so after Order 66, he goes underground somewhere, right? Something happens. He survived Order 66. He survived all the way through the original trilogy to now. He's been doing something all this time. Very possible. I don't know anything. Very possible that he just settled down, had a wife, had a kid, keeping his head down, staying out of trouble. Things transpired, and
Palpatine's dead. He's not hunting anymore. He's like, all right.
Yeah, the kid shows some force abilities. Hey, I'll train you. Mom gets killed. Mom dies. Whatever. He's got to go, and he's like, okay, here we go, kid. Let's do this. So it could be something like that. We don't know. That could be cool, but we'll see. Temple has one last question. He says, do you think we might see a Thrawn-focused episode like we had with Mando in Boba Fett? Sure. I mean, 6, 7, and 8 are going to be Thrawn.
I say no because this is season 1 of the show called Ahsoka. If it was like season 3 or 4 where we get a bit deeper in, that's when you could start to bend the rules a little bit more and be like a little less focused at times, which is what we saw in Mando.
Yeah.
I don't think we would see that in a season 1. Like, I don't think like season 1 of The Mandalorian would have, and now here's a scientist breaking away and how he goes and eats ice cream. Like, I don't think they would do that in a season 1 of a show, especially because there's never a guarantee that you're going to get a second season. But when you're on the 3rd season, you're probably going to get a 4th season. You're probably like your momentum is there. You know where you're at.
I would love to see a spin-off show, Thrawn, where he's back in the ascendancy and doing things like that. But that's me. Vanessa says Baylan's fascinating. I love the character. Makes it sad when we know that we won't have more of him. Yeah.
They might just recast. I mean, realistically, like we were talking about on my show, we're like disappointed that Clancy Brown is in the episode as writer, because Clancy Brown would have been a great replacement for him in terms of recasting. If that part is huge, if that character has a lot to do in the coming stories and plans for him, that's like really big. Two things happen. They either put it all onto Shin, and then like Shin now has to do it, and they just kind of changes like the dynamic of how those things happen, or they like do a recast and they just get somebody else to come and play the character moving forward. And because he is a big white guy with a big bushy beard, it might be you. Just throwing it out there.
Oh boy, call me Lucasfilm. Call me.
If we see Santa start getting real svelte, then we know he's not telling us something.
Look, I'll go on a diet and work out for that.
It's time.
I'm just saying,
your opportunity. Yeah.
And also, if he becomes a really huge fan favorite, that's another one, right? Like that's if fans like are yearning for more Balin like content, and he's that popular, I think they would be well served to recast and give us his story and let it happen.
Because his character is set up in such like a one-off way. I'm an Order 66 survivor. I knew Anakin, blah, blah, blah. Like, you can't just go, oh, and this guy's also an Order 66, and he also knew Anakin. Like, it becomes like, well, that's not special now.
Exactly.
It?
Exactly. All right. Well, Jason, we're going to call it.
Let's call it.
We're going to call it. Thank you for coming on today. It's been fun. And thanks again to Meg, Star Wars Meg. Megan, thank you for
Made the Quitter, as we call her around here. Made the Quitter.
And, of course, for Bespin Bulletin and his typos. Thank you for that, Bespin. We appreciate it. No, and the story. The story was great.
Bespin's made mad at you, so you know. You call that typo. He's not. He's gonna be salty. I know. He's gonna be salty at you. That's why I'm like.
He'll be all right.
But he should rename his site to Balin Bulletin while he's at it.
I love Bespin. He's a great guy, and everybody should support him because what Jason and Bespin are giving us is really beneficial to the fandom, I think.
If you pay child support, why wouldn't you pay Bespin support? That's why
I'm telling you. There you go. Bespin's a great guy, and what he and Jason are doing and is really good. So
and he bought me Ahsoka in Fortnite today, so
that's a good thing too.
My best friend.
I'll tell you what, he won't be buying me Ahsoka in Fortnite. That's for sure.
All you gotta do is sign in.
I don't play Fortnite, so
I know you can. It's never too late. New season starts today. Nothing like today to start.
All right, you guys. Thanks for being here, Jason. Thank you all for being here. We've had a great time today, and we'll catch you next week as we get ready for Ahsoka episode 3. Yes. All right, you guys. Take care, and until next time, my friends. Merry Christmas, and may the Force be with you always. Bye-bye.